Welcome. Today we're going to be learning how to make epicurves, both for the traditional purpose of diseases being tracked over time, as well as the more useful way to expand the concept into the business world. So let's first look at epicurves, and without traumatizing anyone, looking at the COVID-19 outbreak, specifically in New York City, which was an epicenter, early epicenter in the US. So if we go here, this publication from MMWR, we are looking at the epicurve. What we see here is bar charts that are plotted, and each bar represents the number of cases for that specific day. These are plotted by date of diagnosis, and the height of each bar is the number of cases. They also have added here annotation, which we're going to learn about later, but this is a traditional epicurve. But we can also use epicurves for a slightly different format. Here's one example. Here it is. Most public health professionals have never been taught how to make a chart. This is 2026, where more than 60% report 5 hours or less of formal data visualization training. And this is what it looked like in one room from the Association of Schools and Programs of Public Health, which are the nation's rising leaders in public health, the TIPS ambassadors. And so on the left, we see the field as a whole, 60%. And then on the right, in this mini sibling plot, we're getting a drill down of the specific classroom where you have 29 people in that first curve, the epi spike, which is basically none to 5 hours. How do we do this? Well, here's another use case. We can plot business cases, the incident cases of LLMs or large language models or generative AI being released into the market between 2018 and 2025 here plotted. I want to give credit to Irene Solomon with Hugging Face. She gave me this idea with her curve, her graph, and I took it further with more years and also putting it into an epicurve. I think it makes a nice case because what you see for 2018, just to interpret that, is there's only 3 releases. In 2019, no releases. But for 2018, there are 3 different cases, 3 cases with 2 different colors, blue and green. Blue with a label says GPT, first release, and it is a downloadable in blue. Whereas Elmo and Bert in green were fully open. Now, when you take a step back and you look at the pattern of the blue has only grown with time, and it's an exponential growth. In contrast to green, which was the early initiator, and it has faded. It did not come back in 2023, 24, or 25. So that's the power of an epicurve. Not only do you see the rise of cases, but also the distribution and the pattern over time. So what do I mean by an epicurve? In the narrowest sense, an epicurve or epidemic curve is a visual graph that shows the number of new cases of an illness over time based on when symptoms started. And so on the x-axis, we're going to show date or time. And on the y-axis, we're going to show the number of new cases. New cases, incident cases, not prevalent cases. So today we're going to do it in Excel with data, and we're also going to do it in a rigged up format. And why would we want to do this? Well, it's faster, for one, but it is also a really great way to conceptualize a graph before we feed it into AI, which is going to be the focus on next week. But let's get started then with the data. So here we have a sample, and the sample is coming from that course I was telling you about. There was 46 students, and when you scroll down here, you'll see that there's 46 rows of data points here, and they chose based on multiple choice to classify themselves. So each row is a record. What we have to do is we also have to add a column B, and that is a count column. And because each person here is 1, we represent that as 1 across the board. Then we highlight this and we insert a pivot table. And this is the result of the pivot table. Again, 46 cases, and we validate. We know that we saw none to 5 cases and there were 29 there. So this is accurate. So the next thing we need to do is we need to decide the order of the x-axis. And so we go from least to most. None to 5 hours then becomes 1, full day course is 2, 3 credits is 3, public expert, definitely the highest, and this one is in between. And we have two cases here where we're not going to be able to use the data. That's for another topic. Then what we want to do is we copy this over, and what we do is we sort this. And what we're going to do is we're going to sort by x-axis from least to most, and then we highlight those 5 categories, we copy, and we paste special, and then we place transpose. Then we don't need to type, and it all is there. Category 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And within this area, what we need to do is we need to populate it with these numbers here. So for the first one, we're going to have 1 29 times. For number 2, we're going to have 3. 1, 2, 3. For number 3, we're going to have 9. 1, 2, 3, 4. Who knows? And 1 here and 2 here. And to make sure we are getting this right, what we'll do is we'll go down a little bit in the sheet, and we'll add a sum column here. And we stretch it across, and we want to make sure we get the right number, so we just keep on adding until we have 29 here. And then once we have the data, we highlight it and we insert a 2-bar stacked column chart. And that is what we're looking for. Now it doesn't look right. We switch column and row, and there we have it. Now we need to beautify it. So what we would do is we would change out the color, double click, solid fill. I make everything light gray to start with a white box or border. And we just go through this for all of them, which doesn't take long, a minute or 2. Once we come around and we want to give highlight to a specific area, we double click on that specific box and we added a different color, for example, orange, like I showed you before. And there it is. There's other things we can do. We can, in Excel, we can introduce what's called a shadow column. For example, these spacings are not equal, so it's a little misrepresentative. So between none to 5 hours to a full day course, let's say that's our standard, the distance from full day course to a full 3 credit course is certainly much bigger. So what we can do is we can introduce a shadow column. So watch this. We insert a column and that space doubles. All right, let's go on then. I promised you the LLM. So here we have 2018 all the way down to 2025, 76 releases. We already familiar with these first 3 years, first 3 cases for 2018, GPT, Elmo, and BERT in those 3 colors. I've added here hex, the color code for that specific preference. I'm going to pick it up right here just so we have it for later. All right, then the data. Structured exactly the same way, maybe prettier than what we had done just a second ago, but we highlight all the data, the 1 and the 0s, and the year, and then we insert, again, a stacked bar chart. And we switch row and column. And here, it looks wrong, but all we need to do is we need to highlight this blue dominant here, and we can see by the box around that that's the year, so we can delete those. And this looks by form exactly like we needed. And what we can do is we can now match the color. So the first color we want to do is this GPT here. Double click, solid fill, go to more colors, delete the hex color box, insert the one we chose, and introduce a white border around. And that is for GTP. And we can do that for the other two too. I've saved it here just for ease of reference. Same concept, you need to know the hex color. And now we have 2018 correct. Two things we need to change here. One is we don't have the years here. So what do we need to do? We highlight the labels and we go to select data. And we're going to choose horizontal axis labels. So all we need to do is click inside that box, go over and drag over the years we're gonna have, replace those numbers and say, okay. And there it is. We can also add labels just like the other graph. And what we do here then is we add the bottom row and we insert data labels to the center. First, it just gives one. And we highlight those again. And we choose values from cells. And the chart labels I have here. So all I need to do is just highlight this series and click OK. And I don't know if you can tell, I can change the color to white, but it has the number 2, so we just need to drop value and leader lines. And we can even make it Arial and a little bit bigger. And there you have it. Only one more thing to show you. And that is CDC offers a training online. So if you go to cdc.gov training, you can get this simple walkthrough. Basically a few steps plus training data where you can learn how to make an epi curve. And it gives a definition, it shows you what goes where, it shows you what we've talked about, one cases versus multiple cases, time intervals, and all the things that goes into it, including training data. So there you have it. Hope this was helpful. See you next time.